Emily never lied about who she was. Not exactly. She just let people believe the version of her they wanted to see. The girl next door with soft curls and a laugh that could land gently on a man's shoulder. The sweet fiancé who made her own candles and asked about your mother. The receptionist at the salon who remembered your name, your birthday, and how you took your coffee. The Emily people saw was vanilla, safe, warm, something you could bring home to your mother and sleep beside without questioning your reflection in the morning. But she knew better. You don't walk through hell and come out smelling like vanilla. You walk through hell and spend years learning how to carry the scent of fire like it's perfume. Subtle, seductive, selective. That morning, she lit a Palo Santo stick before work. Her apartment still smelled faintly of last night's bath, lavender and rosemary. Jason had kissed her shoulder, half asleep, and mumbled something about eggs. She told him she loved him. She did. But loving him and lying to him had become such adjacent things. They blurred in her mouth like consonants pressed too close together. Her phone buzzed while she was tying the ribbon on a client's Christmas gift set. Coconut sugar scrub, velvet petal lotion, a candle named Hushed. One message. You can change your name, but you can't hide from me. No name, no number, just those words. 16 of them. Each one razor sharp in its simplicity. She stared at the screen so long she didn't hear her coworker Marissa ask if she was okay. She said she was. She smiled. She kept tying the ribbon. She had practiced for years, smiling through panic, through memory, through the slow crawl of dread. In the bathroom, 10 minutes later, she locked the door and crouched beside the sink. Her phone trembled in her hand, not from motion, but from memory. 6 years ago, her name was not Emily. 6 years ago, she lived in Vegas. And 6 years ago, she'd walked barefoot out of a hotel suite in the Four Seasons, a man's blood on her dress and a $1,000 tip shoved into her bra. A final act of control or cruelty, she never figured out which. She ran, changed her name, falsified a few records with the help of an old client who owed her. Moved to Austin. Took the first normal job she could find, sweeping hair, folding towels, watching women sip complimentary cucumber water as if the world had never hurt them. And now it was back. Of course it was. The past doesn't die. It just waits, like something damp and vicious curled beneath your porch. When she finally left the salon that night, the sky was bleeding shades of lavender and rust. Texas dusk. Jason was making enchiladas. He'd texted a heart emoji and a photo of the half-chopped cilantro. I love you, she texted back, then deleted it, then retyped it, then added, I'm lucky I found you. She hit send, stared at the 3 dots dancing on the screen. But they vanished. No reply. By the time she got home, the smell of sautéed garlic met her at the door like an old friend. She kissed Jason. She told him she was just tired from work. He rubbed her back while they watched something brainless on Netflix. And for a moment, it almost worked. The pretending. But later, in bed, when he was asleep and breathing steady beside her, she sat on the edge of the mattress and stared at her phone. There was a second message waiting. A photo, her, in a black lace bra. The one she used to call her moneymaker, lipstick red, eyes heavy, looking into the lens like she was already sold. She remembered that photo, remembered deleting it. Apparently someone remembered saving it. More to come. That was the caption. Her hands went cold. Not just because someone had found her, but because she already knew who it was. And she also knew the past never wants to be forgotten. It wants to be avenged. Emily didn't sleep. She lay next to Jason, her body still and her mind on fire, eyes wide in the dark while the ceiling stared back like it knew everything. At 3:12 a.m., she opened the message again, as if the photo might have changed. As if this time maybe it would be of someone else, some other girl in black lace with secrets written into her skin. But no, it was her. Younger, yes. Softer around the eyes. But still her. Still Emily, before she was Emily. Back when her name was Lena. Back when she still believed she'd only do it for a little while. Just until she had enough to get out, enough to breathe, enough to feel like her life wasn't closing in on her like a velvet-lined coffin. She thought she had deleted everything. She had paid for cleanup, the kind of digital scrubbing that costs more than your rent and swears to leave no trace. But here it was. A ghost, not in chains or sheets, but in pixels. And it wanted her attention. By morning, there were 3 more messages. 1. A video, blurry, handheld, her laughing in a penthouse bathtub, surrounded by rose petals and champagne bottles. That night had ended in bruises. But you couldn't tell that from the footage, my girls. 2. Another photo, close up. Her lips, red, parted, caught in the middle of a smile that wasn't real. Calls. 3. A message, short and mean. Your fiancé deserves to know the real you. Unless you send me $10,000 by Friday. No signature, just pressure. Her fingers trembled as she stared at the screen. She wanted to throw the phone, to scream, to tell someone. But Jason was in the kitchen, humming, pouring coffee into 2 mugs like it was any other Thursday. She walked in, smiled, kissed his cheek, took the mug and told him she had a long day ahead. He offered to drive her. She said no. Too much traffic. She kissed him again, longer this time. He looked at her like she was his whole world, and she couldn't even hold eye contact. At the salon, the air smelled of hairspray and hot ceramic. Marissa was talking about her weekend plans. Someone else was on hold, and the bell over the front door kept ringing. Emily nodded in all the right places, smiled on autopilot. But inside, she was unraveling. At noon, she slipped out during lunch and drove to a coffee shop with free Wi-Fi and tinted windows. She opened a private browser, logged into an old dummy email, one she hadn't touched in years, and started digging. Vanessa's name kept circling in her head. Vanessa with the snake tattoo on her ribcage. Vanessa who drank gin straight from the minibar and said love was a currency no one could afford. Vanessa who used to pull her into back rooms before a client and whisper, "Make him think you want him. That's the trick. That's the lie." They were inseparable once. Until they weren't. Emily had run. Vanessa had stayed. And the last message between them was a block of rage. You get a new name, a new life, and you just disappear? Must be nice. Must be fucking convenient. Emily hadn't replied. Back in the present, she scanned her inbox for anything. No username, no trace. Just anonymous accounts with rotating handles and encrypted attachments. Professional-level obfuscation. Not some jealous ex or pissed-off sugar daddy. This was personal. And it was meant to destroy. She called the only person she could think of. Caleb, a former client turned friend turned ghost. He had once worked cybersecurity for a bank before spiraling into his own quiet ruin. They had kept in touch over the years, loosely, through burner numbers and rare, desperate favors. He picked up on the second ring. Emily? Her name and his voice made her throat tighten. No one from that world called her that. Only Lena. Only baby, doll, sweet thing. But Caleb had always been different. "I need your help," she said. "Someone's trying to blackmail me." He didn't ask questions, not the wrong ones. He just said, "Send me everything. I'll trace it." That night she did. Every photo, every clip, every thread. And while Jason slept, she stared at the shadows of their bedroom, wondering what her silence was worth. Wondering what he'd say if he knew that 6 years ago, she spent 3 nights in Miami with a hedge fund manager whose wife was giving birth, while Emily pressed kisses along his collarbone and pretended to care. "You're not that girl anymore," she told herself. But the thing about ghosts, they don't care who you've become, only what you've buried. At 2:04 a.m., Caleb sent a message. The IP's bouncing through a dozen relays, but the origin pings back to Nevada. Vegas. Then a second text, minutes later. One of the routing points had a username cached in the metadata, NESR0G. Ring any bells? Emily stared at the name until her stomach went hollow. Vanessa. Of course. Of course. The first time Emily met Vanessa, she was 19 and starving. Literally. Her stomach had been empty for 2 days, and her shoes were falling apart. She was sleeping on the floor of a Craigslist sublet that reeked of mildew and desperation. Vanessa breezed into her life like a wildfire in stilettos, cruel, glittering, and just warm enough to make Emily step closer, unaware of the burn. "You're too pretty to be broke," Vanessa had said, blowing cigarette smoke through a cracked window. "Come with me. I'll show you how to eat steak for breakfast." And for a while, she did. They weren't friends. Not really. They were survivors. Vanessa had taught her how to wear a body like a weapon, how to price pleasure like a product, how to disassociate without anyone noticing. She gave her the name Lena, soft, sweet, easily whispered by men who never cared to ask for her real one. And now, 6 years later, Vanessa was back, not to help, not to reconnect, to collect. The next day, Caleb sent more. "She's using Tor relays, but her mistake was the third bounce. It leaked partial metadata. She's been sending everything from a burner laptop bought 3 months ago in Vegas, paid cash. But the store has CCTV. I'm working on getting the footage." Emily sat in her car outside the salon, unable to breathe. 3 months ago, Vanessa had reached out. An old number. One message. "Hope your shiny new life is everything you dreamed of." Emily hadn't answered. She deleted it and told herself silence was strength, but silence is expensive. Because now her inbox held 27 messages, each one a memory, a mistake, a transaction she thought was long forgotten. One clip made her vomit, not because of what she was doing, but because of who was filming. She remembered that night. She had been on something, not by choice. The client had offered her a drink. She'd woken up with her dress on sideways, and her lipstick smudged in a way that felt too practiced. And Vanessa had been in the other room. She hadn't stopped it, hadn't asked, had just lit a cigarette and said, "Shit happens. At least he paid extra." Emily had never said a word, not to anyone. And now that silence was being sold back to her, one frame at a time. That evening, Jason found her sitting in the dark, a glass of wine untouched on the table. Her phone screen cracked from where she'd thrown it. He asked her what was wrong. She almost told him. She opened her mouth, closed it, said she was just tired. He wrapped his arms around her, said he was worried, said she'd been distant, said, "If something's wrong, you can tell me. I love you, Em." She nodded into his shoulder, let his words wash over her like a language she barely understood anymore. He didn't deserve this. Not the lies, not the truth, but she couldn't lose him. Not yet. The next message came at 10:12 p.m. No text, just a screenshot. An email draft, addressed to jason.mcallister@gmail.com. Subject line, the woman you're marrying. Attached, 4 files, 2 photos, 1 video, 1 invoice, her name, her rate, her contact details, dated, signed. Then beneath the screenshot, just 1 line, TikTok. She screamed. Just once, muffled it into her hands. She paced, shook, cried without tears. Then she picked up the phone and called Caleb. "What happens if I pay?" she asked. He was quiet for a long time. "Maybe they stop. Maybe they don't. Blackmail doesn't end with a check, Em. It ends when you take away their power." "I don't want to go public," she whispered. "I know. I don't want to lose Jason. I know that too." "Then what do I do?" He didn't answer. Because there wasn't a good answer. Only the truth. Only the risk. Only the cost of silence. Ticking louder with every second. At 3:33 a.m., she wired $10,000 to a crypto wallet. And she waited. Nothing came the next day. Or the day after. No messages. No leaks. Just silence. It felt like safety. But it was just the breath before the plunge. Because on Sunday morning, Jason found it. An email. No subject. No sender. But the attachments were all there. Photos. Videos. Dates. And the message. "She's not who you think she is." She knew the moment she walked through the front door. The air was different, too still, too deliberate, as if someone had pressed pause on their life and stepped away for just a moment. Jason was in the kitchen, phone on the table, untouched mug of coffee beside him. He didn't look up when she came in, didn't say hi, didn't ask about her day. He just sat there, silent, like a man who'd walked into a room expecting his future and found a stranger wearing his fiancé's skin. Emily froze in the doorway, keys still clutched in her hand. "Jason?" she asked softly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he slid his phone across the table. The screen was still lit, an email open. Her face, her past, exposed. The photos weren't even the worst of it. It was the invoice. The red lipstick, the smile that wasn't hers anymore. "I don't," she started, then stopped. There was no good beginning. There never is when the version of you someone loves no longer exists. Jason looked up slowly. His eyes were unreadable. "How long?" he asked. His voice was too calm, like a storm that hasn't hit yet. Emily swallowed. 6 years ago. I haven't done anything since." "Did you ever plan to tell me?" She hesitated. "No," she admitted. "I wanted to leave it behind." "I thought I had." A bitter laugh escaped him. "You thought you could erase it?" "No," she whispered. "I just wanted to be someone new." He stood, pushing his chair back hard enough to scrape the floor. "You lied to me." "I didn't lie," she said, stepping forward. "I just didn't tell you." "Same thing." "No, it's not. I wanted to protect this. Us." His expression cracked then. The first fissure of real hurt. "From what? From the truth? From who you really are?" She flinched, not because he yelled. He hadn't, but because he didn't. His disappointment was quiet, and somehow that made it worse. "I loved you," she said. "I love you. That hasn't changed." He shook his head. "But I don't know you," he said. "Not really. I knew the girl who made candles and watched bad documentaries and said she'd never even had a one-night stand." "I was scared," she said. "You don't understand what it's like to be 22 and broke and—" "I don't care what you were," he snapped. and then silence again. They stood in it like strangers at a funeral, mourning what they thought they had. Finally, Jason stepped back. "I need space." Her chest caved inward. "Please, I'm not saying I'm done. I need to think." Emily wanted to scream, to tell him everything, to throw Vanessa's name into the air like a grenade and let it explode. But she didn't. She watched him grab his keys, watched the man she loved walk out the door, watched the door close behind him with a softness that hurt more than any slam ever could. That night, she sat on the bathroom floor, red-eyed, hollow, not angry, not vengeful, not even scared anymore, just empty, because the world doesn't hand out forgiveness to women like her. Pretty girls with pretty lies are only ever given two things: desire and damnation. They don't get redemption. They get remembered for the worst thing they ever did. The next morning, Caleb called. "I got the footage," he said, "of her buying the laptop. It's her, Vanessa." Emily didn't say anything for a long time. Then, "She wanted to ruin me," Caleb exhaled. "So ruin her back." Emily almost laughed. "Redemption's not for girls like me," she said, then paused. "But maybe revenge is." The footage was grainy, but there was no mistaking her. Vanessa, still beautiful, but harder now, sharp where she used to be sultry, a blade forged by resentment. She wore oversized sunglasses and a designer trench like armor. Her mouth was a red slash, curled at the corners in a private smirk as she walked out of the electronics store with a slim black laptop under her arm. She looked like a woman who didn't run anymore. She hunted. Emily stared at the paused video, Caleb's voice a distant buzz in her ear. "You were right," he said. "She's the one, and she's not even trying that hard to hide it." Emily leaned forward, studying the screen. Vanessa had always worn confidence like perfume, intoxicating, heavy, expensive. She could charm a man into giving her his wallet and his wedding ring before breakfast. But Emily knew something now. Vanessa wasn't just angry, she was wounded. And wounded women don't destroy for fun. They do it for revenge. 6 years ago, they'd been inseparable. The Gemini girls, they used to call themselves. Not because they were born in June, but because they were two-faced by necessity. The face for clients, the face for each other, and somewhere in the middle, the truth. Vanessa had taught Emily how to walk in 5-inch heels on broken pavement, how to read a man's watch and know what kind of night he was planning, how to keep a straight face when he asked for something you'd sworn you'd never do. They shared beds, secrets, Uber rides to nowhere, until Vegas, until that night. It wasn't the worst night Emily ever had in the industry, but it was close. A party in a suite that reeked of cocaine and desperation. 5 men, 2 girls, bottles popping. Music too loud to hear yourself say no. Vanessa had disappeared halfway through, said she had a private client across town and would meet Emily back at the apartment. Emily stayed, because she needed the money, because she didn't know yet that needing the money wasn't the same as giving consent. The next morning she came home bruised, lip split, 1 earring missing, her dress in a shopping bag because it had torn at the waist. Vanessa had been in the kitchen, hungover, stirring her coffee like it was someone else's pain. "You didn't call," she said. "You didn't answer." Vanessa didn't apologize. She never had. Instead, she said, "Welcome to the real game." Emily left 2 days later, changed her name, burned her SIM card, never looked back. Until now. Caleb had done more than trace the IP. He'd found Vanessa's new alias, her OnlyFans, her coaching business for aspiring sugar babies. Her name was everywhere again. Not her real one, but the brand she'd become, Ness Monroe. God, Emily whispered, scrolling through the site. She turned it into a franchise. She's got money now, Caleb said, and reach. Emily's stomach turned. Vanessa hadn't just stayed in the life. She'd monetized the ruin. And now, she was clawing Emily back into the mud. Not for cash, but because she wanted her to bleed. Emily called her. No blocked numbers. No private apps. No hiding. Just dialed the number. The same one she hadn't used in 6 years. Vanessa answered after 2 rings. Her voice smooth as smoke. Well, well, she drawled. Lena, thought you were too good to call me. It's Emily now. A low laugh. Of course it is. There was a pause, a breath. Why? Emily asked. Why now? Oh, sweetheart, you really don't know. Emily didn't respond. She waited. You left, Vanessa said finally. You got out, got better, and you never looked back. Not once, not to check on me, not to ask if I was okay. You left me to rot. I left because I almost died, Emily snapped. Because that life was killing me. And I stayed, Vanessa said. I stayed, and I built something. You think I wanted to be an online whore forever? You think this is what I dreamed of? You blackmailed me. You abandoned me. I didn't owe you my future. You owed me something. Emily's throat tightened. Vanessa's voice softened, almost tender now. You got clean, got good, got loved, and I got left. That's the difference. Silence. Emily could have said 1,000 things. None of them would matter. So instead, she said, You're done. Vanessa laughed again, cold this time. Oh, baby girl, you think this is the end? No, Emily said. I think it's your turn. Then she hung up. An hour later, she met Caleb at his apartment. He'd already started compiling everything. Audio from the call, time-stamped messages, proof of blackmail, enough to bury Vanessa in legal hell if they played it right. Are you ready for this? Caleb asked, watching her carefully. Emily looked up from the folder. Her hands were steady now. Pretty girls don't get redemption, she said. Then she smiled. Not sweet, not innocent, just ready. But I'm not asking for redemption anymore. The studio lights were low, her voice steady, her name Emily, echoing in her mouth like something reclaimed. She sat in front of her phone, camera propped on a tripod, the record light blinking red. No script, no edits, just the truth, raw and trembling at the edges. Caleb had begged her to let a lawyer vet the video first, but Emily was done waiting for permission to be seen. My name is Emily, she said into the lens. I used to be an escort. There, the first cut. Clean, deep, honest. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed either, because shame means I did something wrong. And I didn't. I did what I had to survive, to eat, to exist. Her hands stayed folded in her lap. She didn't cry. She didn't look away. I left that life behind 6 years ago. I changed my name, moved, started over. I built a life, a quiet one, a good one. I fell in love. I was happy. But someone from my past found me. She tried to ruin me. She sent videos, pictures, invoices. She blackmailed me. She took a breath. And for a while, it worked. Then she reached for her phone, scrolled, and held it up. The voice recording played, Vanessa's voice, crystal clear, bitter and beautiful in its cruelty. You got clean, got good, got loved, and I got left. That's the difference. The truth in stereo. I'm sharing this, Emily said softly, because I'm tired of hiding, because secrets have power, and I'm taking mine back. If you're watching this and you've ever felt ashamed of who you were, know this: you don't owe the world your silence. You don't owe anyone your shame. The video went up that night. By morning, it had 1 million views. Some of the comments were what she expected: ugly, predictable, slut, whore. You deserve to be alone. But those were drowned out by the others. Thank you for speaking. This gave me courage. I thought I was the only one. She didn't reply to any of them. Not yet. She just watched as the algorithm did its work, spreading her voice farther than her fear ever could. The police called 2 days later. The evidence was solid. The cyber extortion charges would stick. Vanessa had been arrested crossing state lines with another burner device in her purse. Emily didn't ask what else they found on it. She didn't need to know. Vanessa never called, never begged, never tried to apologize. But in a way, she already had on tape. Jason reached out a week later, not with anger, but with ache. They met in a park, the same place they had walked during their first awkward perfect date. He looked tired, older somehow, but his eyes were clear. "I watched it," he said. "Your video." Emily nodded. "I didn't know what to say," he continued, "so I didn't. But I wanted to. I needed time." She didn't fill the silence, just let it stretch, like a wound slowly scabbing over. "I was hurt," he said. "Still am, a little. But I was also blind to how easy it is to love a version of someone that doesn't challenge your idea of good." Emily met his gaze. "So, what do you see now?" He smiled, sad and honest. "A woman I still love. No promises. But maybe we can start from the truth this time." She nodded. "I don't need promises." 3 months later, Emily launched a podcast, Behind the Curtain. The first episode opened the same way the video had. "My name is Emily. I used to be an escort, and I'm not ashamed." She interviewed women who had left the industry, women still in it, women who felt invisible, women who had been seen too much. She didn't preach. She listened, because that's what she'd always needed. Not forgiveness, not pity, just someone who heard her without flinching. Sometimes, late at night, she still wakes up in a cold sweat, remembering hotel rooms with no windows and men who said baby like it was a curse. But the panic fades faster now. The fear doesn't linger, because now, when she looks in the mirror, she doesn't see the girl who had to smile for money. She sees the woman who smiled for herself. Unashamed.